my first World Championships I attended. Not to make things personal, but looks like we're pointing the camera, making sure everything is good. These players are swagged out in Worlds apparel. I'm excited to see what this year's Worlds apparel is going to look like. Always a pleasure to see what the design team brings every year to World Championships.
Yeah, we got a bit of a sneak peek back on Pokemon Day, and it looks great. I'm really excited for Worlds this year in San Francisco. 10 years since the last San Francisco Worlds where I was in attendance, and I got top 32 there, so that was my first top 32 at Worlds. So really sentimental place for me as well, and really excited to go back this year.
Well, Judge Totodile back there is making sure everything is going up to form. Luke is going to have the advantage of, being able to have a couple of cards to start the game off with extra. Yeah, so the basic was found here for Pierce. Is now just debating what Pokemon to put in the active spot.
Yeah, had the Latias in hand, but chooses to start that Dreepy instead, not wanting that Latias in the active, because sometimes you don't want Latias on the board, especially if you don't know what your opponent's playing.
You just get your Veltal trap.
Yeah,
and then the game just ends. I know another top player was complaining to me last event about starting that Pokemon, so you've always got to be careful, when things like this happen. We'll finally see the prize cards get put out. These players are eager to get into this match, and honestly, Piper, that makes me more than happy. Let's take a look and see what's unavailable. Is that Lily's Clefairy at the bottom? 2 Dreepies for Pierce and a Badoo. So both players not having access to the cards they exactly want.
Yeah, that Lily's on the bottom is good for Luke, though. An aggressive deck takes prizes quickly, so something like the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon EX could just take those bottom 2 prize cards, and Clefairy's in the deck now. And those 2 Dreepies in the prizes is really big against aggressive decks, too, because you're not going to have as many Dracloaks in play, which gives you less draw, and then it also means that if your Dragapult gets knocked out, you're less likely to have responses turn after turn. Now that we're getting into it, we're going to see who's going first, and it is Luke going first. With those 2 extra cards, is going to be able to make a bit better of a board going into the Pollen turn.
Just slams down the SAR, Ethan's Ho, like it's no big deal to start off the turn. And it has the Legacy energy as well. Immediately actually throwing it down onto the Terapagos. Now, of course, these Pokemon can be moved around, or excuse me, energy can be moved around freely. It's not as much of a concern. And this is a solid start. You know it's strong when your opponent Ultra Balls away Carmine on turn 1.
Yeah, Luke already having another Carmine in hand. Ultra Balling here, likely grabbing something like that Squawk ability to just draw so many cards, or maybe get a Charcadet, start to threaten the Armarouge, because while he attaches Legacy energy immediately, it doesn't mean it's staying on that Terapagos. Could always move to something like that Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. And yeah, here's the Squawk ability, meaning Luke's going to see up to 11 more cards this turn with the Carmine and then the Squawk and Seas, discarding a lot of cards, but at the same time, seeing so many to make such a great board that it's kind of asking the question, if Pierce has Badoo, is it even going to do anything?
Yeah, Luke is locked in right now. I can already tell. Holding the Pheasantipity, finds Latias off the rip, and is actually just considering not even benching Fez. So Fez goes to the discard pile. We're going to see 5 cards off of this here. Finds Prism Energy, Reshiram, double Prism. Is considering just squawking it away. Who needs Prism Energy? Goodbye. Needs to find Charcadet and does. Huge find there. No Ethan's Ho-Oh no energies just yet. Finally finds the Fire Energy, and all of a sudden here on turn 1, we're threatening so much Piper next turn, because we haven't even talked about one of the most impactful Pokemon in this deck, and that's Wellspring Mask Ogerpon.
Yeah, and as mentioned, Pierce prized 2 Dracloaks, so if Luke decides to get aggressive with the Wellspring Mask, could really dampen Pierce's board, make it really weak, and leaving him with potentially 1 Dracloak on the following turns. I mean, we saw Dragapult Dusknoir in the past playing Unfair Stamp. Looking to the future, it's playing Unfair Stamp, but right now it's playing Neo Upper Energy, so it's not going to have as strong of a response to those aggressive Wellspring Mask Ogerpons. And looking at Luke's hand, I saw an Energy. He's going to be able to accelerate 1 to the Ethan's Ho-Oh and an Armarouge for next turn. Really just making a super strong board turn 1 at the cost of those 2 Prism Energies, but with the Legacy in play and 2 more Prism Energies in the deck, should have plenty of energies to close out the game.
Wow. Now just considering if it's worth playing Ultra Ball, you already got the Armarouge in your hand for next turn. A big thing to be thinking about is just considering whether or not to retreat the Mew EX. Yeah, just going to pass. That guy seems fine to have in the active spot. Pierce will start turn off and get the bad news immediately, like you mentioned, that 2 copies of Dracloak are in the prize cards.
Yeah, those 2 Dreepies being prized is really big here. It means that Pierce, if he finds another Buddy Pop-In, needs to try and conceal that those are prized, because you can kind of make your opponent not want to go for Wellspring by using Itchy Pollen and having like a decent board and threatening just Disruption plus Gust plus Itchy Pollen. But Luke finding that Latias means the Gust Disruption is not going to be as strong. But if Pierce shows that the 2 Dreepies are prized, Luke is going to be incentivized to go for that Wellspring and really just take apart Pierce's board turn after turn. And
it seems like, you know, the illusion of choice, essentially, is kind of how it feels, you know. On one hand, you're going to take 2 prizes and KO a Pokemon, and on the other hand, you're going to take 2 prizes and KO a Pokemon. Now, the biggest interesting thing to think about in this spot is there's actually no Iron Hands EX in this deck. That's a card I feel like I've seen a lot in this Armarouge toolbox-style deck, which, again, kind of begs the question of, can you afford to Torrential Pump consistently every turn?
Yeah.
And a lot of that, I think, is just going to depend on how consistently Pierce can string together Itchy Pollen, and with one being Prized Piper, it feels difficult.
Yeah, it could have also been something like Luke benching that Pheasantipity. We mentioned it earlier that Cruel Arrow is really good against these Dragapult Dusknoir decks, and with the Armarouge can get 3 energies, but here Pierce has the Jamming Tower, which now locks Luke out of benching any more Pokemon without another Area 0, and I think Luke might have had to discard another Area 0 earlier and has the Armarouge, but...
There's the Armarouge at minimum, though, Piper. This does mean that the Terrapagos can take a KO onto Bidoof, so the knockout is already there, and there is a Boss's Orders in the hand. I think is considering maybe just starting to chase down Dreepy here with Boss.
It could be a little scary, though. Countercatch for this Armarouge plus Iono means the Armarouge could get stuck for a turn. Luke not adding any more energies to the board. Kind of considering here if you want what support he wants to play. Boss at the front, but looking now Iono's at the front. Really important decision here. Do you go aggressive? Do you try to stop your board? Wow. But here goes aggressive, knocking out that Dreepy.
And this is just going to pay off because of that other Dreepy being prized. Now all of a sudden, we're in a spot where our opponent's only going to have 1 Dracloak up max next turn, and they're going to be really relying off of that.
Yeah, and Luke is going to know that 2 are prized if Pierce has to Night Stretcher for the Dreepy this turn, and Pierce does have that 1 Dracloak, but not a whole lot else. I think I saw an Iono, but no Countercatcher yet, really looking to Countercatcher up that Armarouge and try to buy a turn. Yeah. But Luke here just off to such a commanding start.
Flame Cannon does deal 90 damage, so it could KO the Budu, but it would be at the cost of 3 energies.
Yeah, and your Armarouge is in the active just to get Phantom Dive, so you're losing a ton of energies and your Armarouge, so a little bit awkward if Pierce is able to find that Countercatcher.
This Pokepad may just be a dead giveaway here, Piper, that there is no Dreepy left in the deck if you're just going to grab another Dusclops out. But on the flip side, though, if this Dracloak does not get KO'd, you are going to have an excellent following turn, assuming you could use 2 of these Curse Blast abilities.
Yeah, threatening double Dusknoir is really good against these 2 prize decks. I mean, the Squawkabilly has 160 HP. This Mew has 170 HP because that 1 Itchy Pollen. So you can really get a lot of damage on the board and potentially take 6 prizes in 1 turn as more and more damage builds up.
Even 4 and then Blood Moon to threaten game is also just more than enough. So here we go. Iono, both players shuffling in the bottom. Luke will get 5 cards. Pierce will get 6. Pierce has already done essentially all he wants to in this spot, right? The Dracloak is up. If there's a Night Stretcher, that's great. There's the upper energy for the following turn, the Blood Moon Ursaluna. And we will just see the Pokepad be played to shuffle the deck and probably grab Dusknoir for the following turn.
Yeah, and also thin out the deck, try to find Countercatchers and the likes. And there's that Hawlucha, which could also add even more damage to the double Dusknoir play, potentially enough to just win the game for Pierce at some point. And yeah, now Pokepadding the Hawlucha, really just thinning the deck. Doesn't have a strong hand next turn, just a Hilda, no other supporter. And as we mentioned, those 2 other Dreepy's prize mean Pierce is locked with only 1 Dracloak on the board, not having a ton of draw. Might have wanted the Pheasantipity this turn.
And here we go. Is there a Boss's Orders in this hand?
Doesn't look like it. I mean, Luke's only playing 2 boss and down 1 already. No draw on board.
That Stadium bump is just absolutely massive in this spot. If there was a Stadium here, that Wellspring Ogerpon could be used. It's no. Instead, just going to be an Iono.
Yeah, and
making sure the deck is cut first. Not playing the Lily instead, so really just going to put those cards at the bottom. But Pierce was actively thinning that previous turn.
Yeah, and I think Pierce is happy to see this Iono. I mean, had the Neo Upper, had the Hilda, but really wants to keep Ionoing the aggressive deck. And we'll see what Luke draws here, looking for an Area 0 and a Pokemon to go with it, but not much. Finds an energy, but probably just going to have to knock out this Budu.
And what do you do it with? Could use... Is there another energy in hand? There is a Prism energy, I believe. Could drop that onto something like... looks like it is already dropped onto the Mew EX. So here we go, another knockout with Unified Beatdown. And now, while this Lily's Clefairy gets taken, is it too little too late? if Luke can find a way to Dusknoir and KO this active, he will be in an excellent spot. Or, Piper, do you just ignore completely this active, or, excuse me, do you just ignore this Armarouge on the bench?
I mean, if you knock out this Armarouge, there's no threat of Clefairy. And looking at Pierce's hand, I didn't see any supporters besides Boss's orders, so may just have to knock out this Armarouge to protect the Dragapult. Not much else going on. You can't really use 2 Dusclopses to knock out it on the bench. So probably going to gust up that Armarouge and start spreading damage on the bench. And it is a little awkward because then Luke could force you to play a 7-prize game, knocking out the 1-prizer and then 3 2-prizes. But yep, here's the gust on the Armarouge. We'll see if Luke benches another 1-prizer for Pierce to take advantage of, or if he's locked on this kind of energy spread.
Yeah, with there only being 5 bench Pokemon, you're not even setting up for a 2-hit KO onto this Dragapult EX. You're going to have to find something here. But let's not forget about Ethan Ho-Oh's second attack, or only attack, because this attack is actually so good against Phantom Dive. Shining Feathers does 160, sets up for a 2-hit KO, and then heals 50 damage off of all of your bench Pokemon. So it doesn't really matter how how Pierce spreads the damage, because it's just going to get healed off from this Ethan's Ho-Oh. And I have to double check here to make sure if it heals off the active or not, because that is an absolutely massive advantage if it exists.
Yeah, but Luke does have to find 3 energies to use with 2 Prisms in the discard and 3 more energies in play besides on the Ho-Oh. Has to find 2 to use with the Ho-Oh ability and an attachment for a turn just to do that. And then next turn, what do you use to knock out the Dragapult? As mentioned, if Luke doesn't find that last area 0 in the deck, the Trapagos is only locked at 150 damage and will not be able to knock out the Dragapult even with that 160. And here benches a Charcadet.
Yeah, it's really going to have to find, like you mentioned, something like the 2 fire energy and another energy to move this here. If there's not a way to heal this 30 damage off of the Ho-Oh, it's almost just going to be game over for Pierce. There's just too much pressure, and that Blood Moon Ursaluna can easily close the game out. And now Pierce is going to read that Shining Feathers attack and say, maybe I should have just dumped all my counters onto one Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, the Ethan's Ho-Oh is really strong. You have some grass attackers for something like Grimmsnarl, but the Ethan's Ho-Oh is great against a 2 healing it, and it really shows kind of the flexibility of these decks. Well, in a matchup like Grimmsnarl, you have the grass attackers and this healing, just lots of options for a lot of different matchups.
And the energy retrieval is going to double check the discard pile. Are there any energies?
I don't think there's any basic energies.
Yeah, there's
just
no
2
basic
prisms.
energies. It's just going to essentially take the turn off here. So Luke just not finding the pieces necessary, and I think Pierce has another Gusting card in hand. If he could just bring up this Charcadet again, or even better, use a Curse Blast ability with a counter catcher, this is going to spell absolute disaster here.
Yeah, knocking out the Mew X and the Charcadet this turn kind of takes all the threats off Luke's board. The Mew being really scary because of the Lily's Clefairy can knock out the Dragapult next turn.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, this Trapagos just isn't doing enough damage, and now Pierce finds one of those Dreepies off the prize cards. He's finally starting to restabilize, gets an energy there. And
this is excellent. This is 100% what you want here. Yeah, if Pierce, like you mentioned, KOs this Mew EX and KOs the Charcadet, then what does Luke do in response?
Yeah, Luke's at 3 prizes. Pierce is at 2. If Luke takes a knockout on this Dragapult, you're just asking to get Blood Moon or Ursaluna.
Wow.
And if he doesn't, then the Dragapult's just going to keep on Phantom Diving.
So Pierce will give Luke a prize thanks to that Cursed Blast ability. The biggest disadvantage right now, though, for Pierce is he just doesn't have anything going on in the hand.
Yeah, I mean,
Dusting cards and energy.
Yeah, if he had Dusknoir this turn, he actually could have won the game using another Curse Blast on that Squawk ability. But here, just using a counter catcher, knocking out this Mew and the Charcadet, getting a couple extra damage counters to spread here. Probably seen some on the Trapagos, maybe one on the Latias. Just kind of spreading the damage around. Could be prone to the Shining Feathers, but that's not even knocking out the Dragapult. So it's not seeming like enough. Pierce, despite having such a weak board throughout this whole game, is starting to claw back into it. Luke prizing that Clefairy, not being able to attack with it early.
Yeah.
And then now not being able to find it from the disruption is just falling a little too far behind. Has the Clefairy now, but just seems a little too late.
Yeah, and we see time and time again, if you let Dragapult EX get into play in a matchup like this, it just almost shifts completely into Dragapult's favor. So Pierce down to just 2 prize cards now, and what can Luke do? He can use this, he can use this Unified Beatdown, but he's going to need to find a full bench if he wants to stay in this game. If Dragapult does not fall, this game is all but over.
Yeah, and the big issue this whole game has been Luke's only been able to establish one Charcadet at a time, and Pierce has just been knocking it out, preventing the moving of the energies, and whatever tricks Luke may have up his sleeve.
Can we take a close look at this hand, ladies and gentlemen? If we have a camera op that's close here, a wrong hand, close. The other hand, I think there's just 8 Pokemon in this hand.
Yeah, so many different Pokemon.
Goodness. All Pokemon, no breaks, and with no Area Zero, I'm sorry, Luke, but you can only choose one of those to bench.
Yeah, using the Pheasantipity already, really just showing that, well, he had such a great turn one with the Carmine and the Squawk ability. A lot of resources were discarded, like that Area Zero and some energies. And then choosing for that boss play instead of the Iono kind of just had too weak of a board to be able to keep up with this one Dragapult. So while Pierce only has one Dragapult and no Dracloak on the bench, just can't deal with it.
Yeah, and this game is just over. No matter what Luke promotes, he can go for a Sob and try and block this, and I guess that does keep him in the game in a sense.
Eventually, you're just losing to a Dusknoir on the Squawk ability, though, and there's an Ultra Ball in Pierce's hand.
Yeah.
Gonna grab the Dusknoir, Curse Blast, knocking out the Squawk ability from the bench, not even having to worry about this Saw block, ending the game with the Curse Blast, not even the Phantom Dive.
Yeah, who needs attacks here? You can just use that Curse Blast, and Pierce, off the back of some pretty unfortunate prize cards, does win a very convincing game number 1.
Yeah, had a good start besides the prize cards, had all his basics evolved in stage 1s on turn 2, and Luke here just unable to create a response to that Dragapult. Really showing the issue of these aggressive decks. They don't have an amazing engine, like they have Pheasantipity, Kangaskhan, and Mew, but those aren't easy to always use. I mean, Kangaskhan has to be active, Mew you have to less than 3 cards, and Pheasantipity something had to be knocked out, which Dragapult doesn't do for a while. So we'll see if Luke actually chooses to go second maybe in this game. Typically, the deck is kind of built to go first with the Carmine and the Squawk ability, but going against Dragapult, you can get the turn 1 attack with the Ho-Oh potentially if you high roll, and Dragapult wants to go second, so maybe taking that away from them.
Yeah, this game, seemed like a strong start for Luke, like you mentioned, but Pierce really was just able to stabilize in that mid game. The double Dusclops, a bit of a tongue twister there, was just enough pressure offensively to allow Pierce to get across the finish line. The dude did his job, it slowed the game down, and it was really just being unable to go wide early in the game that caused Luke to falter on these turns. Had to go with some mediocre attacks, and if you're not using good attacks, if you're not taking one-hit KOs onto onto Dragapult, you're in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, Luke had to discard an Area Zero and played one turn 1, and then Pierce had the immediate jamming tower, playing 3 right now, so was able to bump that stadium, and Luke is never able to find the Area Zero return bump. So now heading into this next game, Pierce up game 1, hopefully having less Dreepy's prize, starts the Budew versus a Mega Kangaskhan start. Great starts for both players, Luke going first.
Yeah, that run errand ability, super solid to get things started. Good choice here. I don't think there's much else going on in the hand.
Yeah, a lot of recovery cards, though. I saw a Night Stretcher and a Super Rod. Finds an Ultra Ball. We'll see if he goes for the Squawk ability here. It does feel kind of bad losing a Prism Energy, a Super Rod, and Night Stretcher.
Yeah.
Maybe just playing passively.
Could discard those resources if you so choose to, and then shuffle them back in. What's the consideration here? It feels like, what else are you going to grab, right? It's like, okay, I'll get down another Charcadet, or okay, I'll get an Armarouge for next turn, but then you don't have Ethan's Ho-Oh, then you don't have anything else. But it looks like Luke just wants to go slow in this spot. Hope to, maybe high roll into Ethan's Ho-Oh and Energy, and then if you find both those pieces, you're essentially in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, having the Kangaskhan draw and a Lily's in hand for next turn means Lily's is basically getting 10 cards, and having that Armarouge ready. A lot of great options here, just fixing a sleeve, but in both games, we've seen Luke discard the Pheasantipity turn 1. I wonder if maybe benching it and going for a Cruel Arrow attack could be really strong here, as you can knock out the Dusclopses, the Dracloaks with energies, and you don't have to worry about shuffling the energies into your deck like Wellspring Mask, Ogerpon.
Yeah, the Cruel Arrow can really be devious. That could be a nice devious play to play against some of your opponents, but it is kind of hard to spot that. It's kind of a more efficient Wellspring Ogerpon in this matchup sometimes.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, Countercatcher on the Armarouge plus Itchy Pollen and Iono can really punish you for shuffling all those energies back in, which really sucks. But here,
I'm agreeing with you, don't worry.
Yeah,
I'm saying Fez is good. Fez is better for that exact reason. It looks like nothing else going on, though, so just going to pass the turn over, and, there's not too much going on in the hand here for Pierce. Does have Iono, though, and that is extremely valuable to shuffle that freshly searched Armarouge back into the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, I mean, Luke has 3 Armarouge in the deck, so still has some decent odds to draw into one, but looking at Pierce's prize cards, much more manageable than last game. Only 1 Dreepy this time, so he'll have plenty of Dracloaks, and Luke didn't have as crazy of a start as last game. So using that Iono, Pierce is hoping to get some more basics down, some stage 1s for the next turn, and here just prize checking, making sure that those 2 Dreepies are not prized like last game, kind of adjusting the game plan around. Luke does not have too many cards in hand, though, for the Iono.
Yeah, at minimum, the baseline is complete. You're getting the Itchy Pollen, and your opponent, didn't have a super strong start. So you're feeling more than okay, at least with a Dreepy down in play. Now it just comes down to getting stabilized in these next turns. Can you find a Buddy Buddy Poffin this turn? Can you find one next turn? The scariest thing of all of this is not what he doesn't have in hand, it's what he has in hand.
Yeah.
3 Dracloaks are going to the bottom of the deck, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, 3 Dracloaks going to the bottom of the deck, 1 Pokepad down. It might be a little difficult for Pierce to find these Dracloaks on the following turns, but 3 more Pokepads in the deck, a couple Ultra Balls, Hilda, and that 4th Dracloak. A lot of ways to find them, and some shuffles with Buddy Buddy Poffin, hopefully.
No Buddy Buddy Poffin, but there is a Pokepad for next turn, and with the way this hand looks, it may have to be foregoing benching Duskull for this turn, and I think that is going to be the case. Could choose to attach the Neo Upper, but is just going to hold off for now. There's another Lily, or excuse me, a Lily as the top deck. It looks like there was actually pretty much nothing else going on here, so a nice find. Also has that Prism energy, which now means if there can be a Latios or Ethan's Ho-Oh plus energy, we could see a KO on Badoo, and that would be a big find here for Luke. He's going to have 8 cards to try and make that happen.
Yeah, 2 more with the run errand. Really showing the strength of this Kangaskhan. Turn after turn, 2 more cards. Well, you can only use it once per turn, unlike something like Trade. It adds up over time, especially when you can start using it from the first turn of the game, being on a basic. And that basic has a good attack too, 300 HP. Mega Kangaskhan, one of the more impressive megas that have come out recently. So we'll see what Luke draws here off this Lilies. Looking to take a prize, just be super aggressive against Pult, especially with Pierce's super weak start. It looks all right, but looking at Pierce's hand for the future, it is a little bit weak. Having an Ultra Ball and Pokepad, which can get some Dracloaks, but...
He did not just hit that on the stream. I am livid right now, not on the stream. We get into here. Let's see, he's got 8 cards in hand, but there's no ability to get the attack off right now. 2 cards. Does he find Latios? No Latios, no Ethan's Ho-Oh, which means we're just going to have to see a pass and a huge turn gained here for Pierce.
Yeah, I think if Pierce had his Badoo knocked out here, he'd have been in a little bit of a tricky spot. The only energy in his hand being that Neo Upper could be a little awkward to move back into a Badoo, but now having this turn to just chill, get some Dracloaks into play, use some Recon Directives, and hopefully restabilize here, finds a Duskull, which is a nice find, not having any Poffins last turn, being able to build up the Dusclops and the Dusknoir to make some more damage onto the board, force some counter catchers, Ionos to low. Really flexible card that is super powerful with Dragapult.
And smart sequencing here, not playing the Ultra Ball just yet, gonna use this Dracloak's Recon Directive first in hopes of finding some Pokemon that Ultra Ball may want to find to maximize the outs. We'll have to see. The hand is looking a little bit tight in terms of resources. Does find Hilda, though, and I think that's got to be the takeover Ultra Ball here, just to grab another Dracloak and an energy card to hopefully preserve that Neo Upper energy as well.
Yeah, Pierce having that Neo Upper energy in hand and a Dragapult for next turn anyways. This Hilda, without any other supporter, is great. I mean, it gets the energy on the backup Dracloak and another Dracloak, so you even see 2 more cards. You have the Duskull. You kind of have everything you want, so while it's not a Lilies for 8, it's still pretty good this turn.
Is those 2 cards, Psychic Energy and Dracloak, both going to the hand. Now that Fire Energy is prized, so the choice is a little bit interesting as you are kind of limiting your outs to attack just by a little bit compared to, grabbing that Luminous Energy first. Small details, though, probably won't matter, but you've always got to be thinking about stuff like that in the Pokemon TCG. We'll see Recon Directive number 2. It does find Dragapult EX for next turn. There is already 1 in the hand, however.
Yeah, and an Ultra Ball, so probably just going to grab this Badoo as Ultra Ball fodder for something like Pheasantipity next turn if Pierce needs to draw Iono, Countercatcher, any of those pieces, or even a Dusclops. And now Pierce has done everything. Just going to Itchy Pawn again. Luke, Jamming Tower for the Area 0. Yeah. Really big find. We saw last game how Luke, having only 5 bench spaces, really limited his options each turn, but has another Area 0 immediately. Just first card he plays.
It down right away. There is a Fire Energy in the hand, so if Luke does choose to, he could attach the energy card here.
Considering using the Kangaskhan run errand first, maybe looking for a Ho-Oh, considering using the Lilies first too.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a combination of Latios and Wellspring Mask, Ogerpon could take 2 prize cards, knock out the Dracloak, and knock out this active Badoo, and put pressure on Pierce to have that Neo Upper energy in hand.
Yeah, just not attaching the energy before, though. Interesting decision, maybe trying to maximize the odds of the Ethan's Ho-Oh and 2 fire energies, and just really building a board with a ton of energies to use. But yeah, looking for a Charcadet 2 potentially so that this one Armourouge doesn't get knocked out and then options are too low. But here, finds an energy. Not much else. Another Charcadet is nice though.
Let's find Legacy Energy as well. Thinking about just slamming that down right away. Here's that run errand. Is there a Latios? Anything to pivot? Does find the Ethan's Ho-Oh, so can put that Fire Energy into play thanks to that Golden Flame ability.
Yeah, saves the Prism Energy, so you don't have Prism Energy, and like Legacy Energy or something on this Kangaskhan.
So 3 prizes for Mega Kangaskhan can just be so awkward here when you're going to want to knock out an Armourouge anyways down the line.
Yeah, so this Legacy Energy, really big. I mean, it acts as a 5th Prism Energy, but also can just disrupt your opponent's prize trade, especially when you're playing against something like Goldengo, another big 2-prize beat stick deck that just go 2 prize for 2 prize every turn.
Are we really flipping on this poor Badu? Come on, let him live, man.
It's like on TCG Live. It forces you to flip until you get tails.
It's a canon event.
Yeah,
right? That's how it works. Okay, well, Badu goes down one way or another, maybe with a little bit of a less beating than it needed to. But it goes down nevertheless, and Akon Pierce does have another counter stadium. These 3 Jamming Tower are just, you know, coming in tenfold in terms of strength.
Yeah, Jamming Tower is so fantastic into the meta. Shuts off those technical machine evolutions from Gardevoir, air balloons from Goldengo, and also is just a stadium up against area zeros in these aggressive decks. And 3 of them means you just find them quickly and whenever you need them. So a really interesting deck building decision that is paying off here for Pierce.
Both recon directives being used, and now the question is, what is going to be our attack of choice? Pheasantipity will use that flip the script ability, draw 3 cards. Does find Lily and the boss's orders. There was already one in the hand, though, it seems, before. So we'll likely just see Phantom Dive from the active and potentially a Lily before this turn ends.
Yeah, and the Jamming Tower bumping that area 0 because Luke has really failed to abuse the area 0. He always has 5 Pokemon, so he doesn't really get to discard after to get rid of some liabilities, although he doesn't have liabilities right now, but doesn't get to board fix like he sometimes may want to do. And Pierce maybe setting up to knock out this Kangaskhan with Phantom Dive or Curse Blast damage later and get the 3 prizes anyway. But
the math is a little bit weird right now since it would go to 220. It wouldn't be KO'd from a Dusclops. It would be just shy, and there's no Monkey Dory in this version of the deck. So we'll see Ultra Ball be played right now, most likely to grab that Dusclops for later on. So now the question just kind of becomes, how do we want to spread damage with our Phantom Dive to try and set up for a win in 3 turns, including this one?
Yeah, this Clefairy is a little bit scary. It's guaranteed to knock out this Dragapult this turn if Luke is able to pivot into it, which he can retreat the Kangaskhan, which feels bad, but is an option, or if he's able to find another Area 0 and a Latios, now that he's not item locked. But Pierce could go 200 onto this Mega Kangaskhan, putting a lot of damage onto the Charcadet, and maybe threatening to knock out that for the 6th prize, and knock out the Kangaskhan, the Charcadet, and the Lily's Clefairy, but it could get evolved into an Armourouge, which could make the math a bit awkward.
See the Jamming Tower come down, and I'm just debating whether or not we want to play Boss's Orders this turn. Like you mentioned, could go after the Lily's Clefairy, take a KO on it, and it seems like we are just going to be ignoring the Kangaskhan. So Lily's Clefairy comes up, Phantom Dive used, KO, and now the question, Piper, where do we want to put these 5 damage counters?
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine we want to set up some of these 2 prizes because at this point, with Luke being at 5 prizes, Pierce is at a point where he can just try to trade 2-2-2 with Luke, and Luke goes to 3, then to 1, and Pierce goes from 4, then to 2, then to 0 because he has this Dragapult here. Then he has this Stricloak on the bench with an energy and a Dragapult in the hand or an Ultra Ball in the hand. A way to get a Dragapult in the hand already, and then can close out the game with a Blood Moon Ursa Luna.
Yeah, I mean, as it stands right now, Pierce could win the game on the following turn with Dusknoir onto the Kangaskhan and then KO on the bench Charcadet. That would be 4 prizes right there.
Does have the Legacy energy, though, so has to watch out for that.
Oh, right on.
And here, Luke just getting the Clefairy back, maybe looking to find Area 0, Mew, Latios, some combination of these cards to potentially could knock out all of the Pokemon. It'd be really difficult. A lot of pieces need to be found. And with 2 Area 0s discarded, we mentioned it last game that only 3 Area 0s in the deck. You have to find the 3rd one.
Yeah,
it's not easy to do.
Issue. There's no way to pivot right now.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's prized. Oh, no. So Luke is going to have to be forced to attack with Mega Kangaskhan EX. We may be reliant on some coin flips here in order to get this KO.
I mean, he could find...
Oh, he's got 1 left. Oh, it looks like I thought he had gone through 2, but it looks like 1 in the discard pile.
Yeah, he could also find an energy to use Ethan's Ho's ability to accelerate and another Prism energy, then manually retreat, but that feels so bad discarding all those energies on the Kangaskhan, especially that A-Spec Legacy energy. So there is 2 Area 0s in the discard. But, yeah, I mean, this hand just 3 Nest Balls does nothing with full bench.
can draw some cards off of Run Aaron, but it's just more bricks. I don't think there's any fire energy to bring back. I think we got to flip some coins here, Piper.
Yeah, I mean, Luke needs to find three heads here, and if he doesn't, it's just such a rough spot. I mean, Pierce could even knock out the Armors and Charcadet this turn if he can find a Dusknoir, which he has an Ultra Ball in hand already, going for the coin flips, rapid fire combo.
We'll get hype if there's a couple.
Oh, there's the tails.
No, see, we reserve the hype until they hit a couple, but unfortunately, short-lived, 200 damage onto the Dragapult EX.
Yeah, and now Pierce has Monkey Dory potential. Actually, Pierce is not playing Monkey Dory, but that is another thing to consider.
If Pierce had kept that boss's orders in hand, actually would just have had close to game this turn. If he could have found something like Hawlucha, would that have gotten it there? No, it would have been really close. The Lily's Clefairy always can be KO'd on the bench thanks to the damage counters. And actually, yeah, with Hawlucha, it would have been enough, I believe, with the damage counters from Phantom Dive. Be able to put 10 damage onto the Charcadet and then 10 more thanks to that Lily's Clefairy, but I don't think it's going to be a potential with that boss's orders being discarded on the previous turn. Still going to grab Dusknoir, though, as that counter catcher hits the discard pile.
Yeah, I mean, Pierce kind of had to decide between discarding Boss, the Ultra Ball, or Lilies, and the Ultra Ball is just so important to get a Dragapult on the next turn, or the Dusknoir if your Dragapult survives a turn, and the Lilies, you don't want to leave yourself with a dead hand, and here, Pierce using that Lilies, just trying to get as far ahead as possible, could see a Curse Blast onto that Lily's Clefairy, putting 200 on the Kangaskhan and knocking out that Clefairy again, and Luke just showing that he's not been able to find a way to pivot into this Clefairy, and Pierce is going to be able to potentially run away with the game by just putting so much damage on the board and knocking out that Clefairy, that one big threat that Luke has.
Even without taking a KO, you are threatening so much with Dusknoir just being up. A Phantom Dive, even if you just take a KO on the Charcadet this turn, you're just threatening game on board next turn.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see what else Pierce can do. Does have Pokepad in hand. Has yet to use Recon Directive yet, so can find another Dreepy, hoping to get that Integer Cloak later on. There is one prized still, so it looks like that's actually not an option.
And also looking at it, Pierce could just Curse Blast, knocking out that Armarouge, and then Phantom Dive to knock out the Charcadet, and that just locks this Kangaskhan into attacking because Luke wouldn't have any. He could find 2 energies on the Ethan's Ho-Oh, then another Ethan's Ho-Oh, and another acceleration to knock out this Dragapult, but that feels very inefficient.
Well, yeah, Ethan's Ho-Oh can only put it onto itself is the issue. So you have no way of attacking with the Clefairy itself is kind of where it comes down to. You can flip heads off Kangaskhan, but that's really all it goes down to. I guess this Dragapult already has enough damage, so it will fall either way to a Kangaskhan, but that would just be the game in response. So either way, it's just going to get tricky.
Yeah, I mean, Luke at 5 prizes just had such a slow start compared to last game, but sometimes when you have a fast start and get too far ahead, Dragapult is the deck that can punish you for that, and that's why Dragapult keeps seeing success. It just has so much comeback potential with Counter Catcher, Iono, the Jamming Tower, and HE Pollen, really just the star of the show here, really limiting Luke's board presence this game, not being able to find Latios ever, and forcing him into this rapid-fire combo line. And now Pierce here kind of calculating, deciding if he wants to take knockouts, where he wants to take knockouts. A lot of different options. Can knock out the Clefairy, the Armarouge, and the Charcadet. Could even knock out the Kangaskhan, but I think that's a bit less likely. But it does get all the energies off the board at the same time.
He's actually going to go after the Lily's Clefairy. Very interesting here.
Yeah, may have something like the Hawlucha to knock out the Charcadet too, or just content knocking out this Clefairy, preventing like any Mew shenanigans.
Sure. Yeah, it is interesting now because even with a Dusclops, you would be able to KO this Kangaskhan on the bench. And even now, that Legacy energy doesn't matter when you're at 2 prize cards anymore. So I think this is a fine play here from Pierce.
Yeah, I think whatever Pierce did, he was in a good spot this turn. It's just kind of dealer's choice of what do you want to knock out.
Sure.
And here is just such a strong board, having Pheasantipity, Cloak with an energy on it. It's going to be up to Luke to try to piece together something. But with that last Area 0 prize, it's going to be really difficult to do anything. You need the Latios in play to pivot, but then you can't have any other attackers like Clefairy or Mew. And here, using Nest Ball to get the Pheasantipity to draw more cards. We just saw how bad Luke's hand was last turn with triple Nest Ball and no Area 0 to use them.
Yeah, and now with there not being a way to retreat out, it means, you know, our only saving grace, which was essentially to use this Ethan's Ho-Oh to heal some damage off, is pretty much gone.
Yeah, Luke here, I think just looking for an Iono and hoping that Pierce can't find the combination of a Fire Energy or a Luminous Energy and a Dragapult EX. But Pierce has been thinning his deck through the game, has the Pheasantipity flip the script, has a Recon Directive, and another Dreepy that can evolve up and Recon Directive.
See, that energy accelerated, but it feels all for naught at this point. Pierce with just so many cards and so many options. And with that one copy of Iono missing, MIA here for Luke, the doors are starting to shut. As Pierce can taste victory and can taste that 7th win right below his fingertips.
Yeah, Dragapult Dusknoir really just proving its title of the gatekeeper for all the cool decks in the format. Gets a little bit of a power hit post-rotation, but still is able to gatekeep a lot of cool decks, so...
We'll see the Carmine for a little bit of style. There's that Iono. It was close, but no Cigar, unfortunately. Let's see what else the situation is here for Luke. He's thinking about whether or not to play Ultra Ball to thin out something from the deck. Already played that supporter card for turn. And I think the question now is, do you want to go out with style, or do you want to go out with a little bit of jazz, essentially, here?
Yeah, I think I'm going to just use those rapid fire combo to flip some coins. We saw him flip some coins off the buddy a couple turns ago. Hey, go for it again. Try to style, get as much damage as possible. I mean, rapid fire combo like the old Mega Kangaskhan Wham Bam Punch.
Sure,
Much more fun name, though.
Yeah, you know, a little bit of inspiration on both from some cool attacks through the history of the Pokemon TCG. We'll see Ultra Ball just grab another Pokemon, thin it out of the deck. And if Pierce can just find that energy card, it already has the Dragapult EX in hand, this game will be over. So we'll go through the motions. There is that Kangaskhan. We're going to see a little bit of flip action. All right, come on, let's see some heads.
One heads.
2, 3. Keep going. All right, that was an illegal roll. Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah,
all right. Dragapult goes down. Maybe could have used those 3 flips on a previous installment to KO Dragapult, but as long as Pierce can find the energy, it will be all over. Dracloak comes up into the active spot.
Can just get the game done with Jet Headbutt.
And actually, we're going to style out. He said, you want to style with rapid fire combo. I'm going to style with this Headbutt. Dragapult EX takes things down and advances Pierce to 7 wins and 1 loss going into the second phase of competition.
Yeah, everybody talks about Phantom Die, but sometimes the Jet Headbutt just gets in there, especially early if you whiff too many energies. But here we saw it ending the game. A fun way to end a really interesting set, seeing that Armor Rouge box deck with Ethan's Ho-Oh. Unfortunately against Dragapult Dusknoir, where can kind of struggle, but Dragapult Dusknoir was able to gatekeep the deck again.
A cool concept, unfortunate to not really see the full plan go into action, but Luke is still in things, 6-2, still in phase number 2. We'll battle it out to see if he can advance to get some cash, some points, and all the prizes, and of course, did everything with a smile on his face. You gotta love that here from the Pokemon TCG.
For sure, and can still top cut. I mean, 6-2 going 5-0-1 in the coming rounds, I believe.
Yeah.
Bring into an 11-2-1 record. That's top cut, asymmetrical. So we'll see if we could see Ethan's Ho-Oh and Armor Rouge again. But yeah, going into the replay, game 1, Luke had such an amazing start, just popping off, and had the boss on the Dreepy with Pierce having 2 prize, but wasn't really able to do anything after. This Itchy Pollen just really shut down the options, and with 2 Area Zeros gone, Luke's board was just kind of locked to this jamming tower, and Pierce was able to slowly but surely use a lot of Phantom Dives, targeting those key weaknesses on Luke's board, something that Dragapult does against every deck, and slowly take back a victory from a really weak start here. And we see Luke just forced to 2-shot this Dragapult, doing 150, and yeah, it was a really rough game. The Dusknoir here just ending the game, even with the Sob trapping this Latias.
Game 2 is just more of the same, it felt like.
Yeah.
It was close, but really just this Stadium War, having to use those Area Zeros early, but also not using those turns to bench multiple Pokemon. It seemed like benching Area Zero while under item lock just wasn't the recipe for success, and you have to wonder if Luke had prioritized the stadiums just a little bit differently, what these final turns could have looked like.
Yeah, it's weird to balance, because we saw in game 1 he used Lilies and drew like 8 Pokemon or so, or just had 8 Pokemon at the end of the game, and then he used Lilies in the second game, so maybe looking for a similar hand, but just wasn't able to find that, and Pierce was able to take the game against Armor Rouge.
So, you know, no new story to anybody at home. Dragapult EX found at the top tables at 7-1. Congratulations again to Pierce. I know he's been looking for a super strong finish as of late. Competitor for multiple years. I'm excited to hear, once we have an interview with him, how he sort of reflects on, you know, the new era of Pokemon and what Dragapult EX has helped him with in the coming tournaments and what he's expecting out of phase number 2.
Yeah, it'd also be nice to hear the approach, because you don't always test against the deck like Ethan's Ho-Oh Armor Rouge. So when you're playing something like Dragapult Dusknoir, how do you approach those kind of uncommon matchups? And I think that's just an interesting topic for tournaments in general, because at the end of the day, a lot of people play weird decks. Sometimes people play Crustle, and you need to know how to adapt your playstyle to beat these decks sometimes.
Yeah, there is always interesting dynamics when it comes to your 1% matchups,
Yeah.
to say. I don't know if there's more than 10 people in this room playing Ethan's Ho-Oh this weekend. So when you do have a deck like that, you have a natural advantage of people not being prepared to play against your archetype, and that can really show, especially in those early rounds. But once you get to this point in the tournament, it seems like sometimes the cracks start to show a little bit more with your deck, as people are a lot more prepared or have the preparation in terms of their style or their play in the Pokemon TCG to deal with things like this on the fly.
Yeah, and as you get deeper into tournament, the players get better, so even if you catch them off guard, they're more able to adapt and overcome those challenges that they may face, such as Liz Clefairy in a box deck. We saw it never really came up. Pierce was able to just target it and knock it out before it ever became a real threat.
Dragapult EX at the top, as mentioned. I have to wonder, what some of the thought process was behind the 3 jamming tower. We've seen 2 be good, but, towards the end, these players sometimes get a little bit fancy with their card combinations. It's not a consistency card, which, Dragapult sometimes wants even more of, but looking at this list, managed to fit 4 Pokepad and the 3 jamming towers, so had to make space somewhere, but it seemed to have paid off.
Yeah, the Dragapult list have like 57, 58 cards that a lot of them are all playing, and they have those 2 kind of flex spots. I think we saw earlier with Rowan playing 3 Badu, now we see 3 jamming towers, so a lot of little kind of personal preference there. Sometimes people play second Hilda, Turo, Scenario. Kind of just depends on the player, and that's kind of the nice thing. You see people's personality shine in their deck building in those last few slots.
Well, at 7-1, Pierce has got to be feeling great about his record so far. Let's have a chat with him and hear how he thinks that match went down. Let's throw it down to that interview.
All right, we have our last round winner, Pierce Blend, here in the lounge. How are we feeling, Pierce?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good to be here. Excited to be on my first stream, so it's awesome.
It's your first time on stream, but we did mention backstage that you've been playing now for 15 years.
Yes, that's correct.
Again, congratulations on stream. Congratulations for winning on stream after.
Thank you.
So Dragapult EX, right?
Yes.
Why that deck for this tournament?
To be honest with you, I have been playing Dragapult for most of this year. I've been to actually almost every major tournament this year. I wanted to go and see and push my limits and see how well I could do. Every time I played a deck that wasn't Dragapult, I did really poorly. And every time I played Dragapult, I did pretty good. So I figured might as well, give it one last ride, play Counter Catcher, Iono, all those great cards that are rotating soon. And I stuck with my guns, so.
And it paid off. You're now 7-0-1, guaranteed a spot in phase 2 now, and 7-1-0.
7-1.
Yes. Guaranteed a spot now into phase 2, and a pretty good spot. 7 wins is pretty good. What's going through your mind right now?
A lot of emotions. Like you said, I've been playing Pokemon for so many years. I've been very close to being on stream so many different times, and it's honestly been a dream to be on stream and to win. The first time doing it, it's so awesome. I love this game. I love playing, and it's just, this has been so awesome. Everyone's so professional. I'm just very blessed.
Perfect. But yeah, now let's talk about that matchup real quick. Were you expecting to run into Ethan's Ho-Oh at all, going into this tournament?
I was not, but when we sat to pair against Luke and I actually played him earlier in the year, and he was also playing Armor Rouge, so I figured he was probably going to play something like that. So when we sat down before we flipped over the cards, I was like, this is probably Ho-Oh for him specifically, but for the tournament, no. It's kind of like it's a rogue deck.
Wow, so you remembered something you faced earlier in the year, and it did come into play, but I mean, Ethan's Ho-Oh, not something you see every day. When you run into these rogue-style decks, the non-meta decks, what goes through your mind? What's your game plan as Dragapult?
Thankfully, with Dragapult, a lot of the game plan is pretty simple. Use Badu, Itchy Pollen for 2 turns, start attacking with Dragapult EX as soon as possible, and then obviously build up Duskulls, Dusklops, and Dusknoirs to